Welcome Rushab, thank you so much for joining us. He's a चलती फिरती recommendations page, right? बैंगलोर में कहाँ आपको डेजर्ट्स खाने हैं, कहाँ का खाना खाना है, कहाँ आफ्टर पार्टी करनी है, अगर कोई आदमी आपको बता सकता है तो वो ऋषभ ही है. I think as a generation that has grown up on smartphones, Facebook, Instagram, right? Friend became a friend request. What does it mean for you to be a good friend in today's age and time?
My definition of a friend is very vague.
Hello. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Oopar podcast. My name is Sagar and I am the founder of Oopar Club. At Oopar, our community is on a mission to create a more happening, productive and exciting life for themselves. We work with each other so that we all can become a better version of ourselves. And that is what this podcast is also all about. In this podcast, you will not see celebrities, famous people or experts talking about a specific thing. This podcast is about people like you and me. In every episode, you will see somebody from our community coming in and sharing their life story with you. Every episode gives you the opportunity to step into someone else's shoes and look at life from their perspective, making you a little bit wiser. In this episode, I'm super happy to have with us Rushabh. Rushabh is a very good friend of mine from the club. Over the last 1 year, he has been on a personal transformation journey, taking some of life's biggest challenges head on. In this episode, you get to hear his story, all the ups and downs and everything in between. Trust me, you do not want to miss out on this one, so stay tuned till the end. Hey, hi guys, welcome to the very first podcast with Oopar. And today we have a lovely guest with us, Rushab. For those of you who do not know Rushab, the easiest way to get to know him, he's a चलती फिरती recommendations page. राइट बैंगलोर में कहाँ आपको डेजर्ट्स खाने हैं, कहाँ का खाना खाना है, कहाँ आफ्टर पार्टी करनी है, अगर कोई आदमी आपको बता सकता है तो वो ऋषभ ही है. राइट, सो वेलकम ऋषभ, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस.
Thanks for having me, Sagar.
Right, and usually whenever we start a podcast, we appreciate the guest, welcome the guest. But to be very honest, I think when we would have thought of this idea of podcast a year back, we would have never thought that you would be the first guest to our podcast, right? And the reason behind that is, I think when we met you a year back, I remember it was at this event called Panchayat, which was the whole idea of that event was conversations, right? And
Yes.
Getting people to talk, interact with each other. But I think when we first met you were pretty reserved and we felt like you were not mingling with people that much or not interacting with that much. And here we are today. I think you are life of every Oopar party and after party, and it's just good to see your journey for this time. But I think that's also a very good starting point. So I want to understand better and explain, if you could explain us what was happening in your life at that point of time and what just happened on that day at the event.
Yeah, I'm glad that people find me to be the life of the party. Generally, I'm very observant, and I take some time to gel with people and all that. Year back when I joined you guys and I attended the first event, right? At that point in life, I was trying something new. Right. I was not a very outgoing person. Right. I was not a very social person. So probably at that event, right, I was very nervous. And at that point, till that point, I was very low on confidence, to start conversation with strangers. Right. I didn't know where to start conversation, what conversation to have with people, right. What are the limits and all that. So yeah, I would probably sum it up as a nervous energy plus lack of confidence is, I think so, probably that's what you observed in me.
No, yeah, I completely understand, right? I get the part about you being observant, also being nervous for your first event. But I think something like lack of confidence is not what I would associate with you today, right? And you also come from a business background, you run a family business. And usually we feel like people who are running businesses are very confident people amongst themselves, because I'm sure you also have to talk to your employees, your clients, your prospects. So what made you in that life a little underconfident, or what would you say was the source of that lack of confidence?
If I were to pinpoint at one particular instance, I wouldn't be able to. I think it comes, from years of, things happening in my life, right? About in 2003, I moved to Bangalore in fourth standard. And at that point when I shifted to Bangalore, right, I only knew one language, which was Gujarati. Like fluently, if I were to converse with someone, I knew only Gujarati. No English, no Hindi. And coming to a completely different state where I needed to learn another language, Kannada. Right. So at that first 2 or 3 years, it took me some time because I had to learn everything from scratch. I was not able to converse with people in my school,
Right.
my classmates, my teachers. I wasn't able to vocalize my thoughts
Right.
as I would have liked. And that, at that point of time, probably that's what started the lack of confidence in me.
Right.
And since I couldn't make friends at that point very freely, that just, it was a domino effect, right? Over the years, a 10th, PUC, college, I did make friends, but it was a very nervous beginnings to friendships. I would meet them, I would introduce myself, but then I wouldn't converse really. I would be lost as to where to start. So those all things happened, and still I am nervous to talk to people in situations. With you guys it's become more of a vibe thing where I have become confident with you guys, but in certain situations still I am not very sure about what I have to converse, and I go silent.
Absolutely, that makes sense, Rushabh, right? And I know a lot of other people also, people who are in general secure, confident in life, they also struggle in terms of connecting with people, making friends, or speaking in public, right? But for a lot of them, there is also not a willingness to change, right? You kind of sometimes start to accept कि मैं ऐसा ही हूँ, right? I'm okay alone, I'm the way that I am. So what happened with you? What kind of triggered you to go ahead and work on your confidence or look for that change?
A couple of things. One is, professionally at that point I was struggling. While I was becoming a part of on the day-to-day operations in my business, family business and stuff. One was, I was finding it difficult to talk to people, and I wanted to change that.
Right.
And second was, see, I am into an industry where when I joined, I didn't have a lot of peers. By peers, I mean, people of my age or, 2-3 years elder to me. Everyone was, at least minimum 15 to 20 years elder to me. And I found it very difficult to converse with them at starting, not from a business perspective, but from personal struggles perspective, trying to get their perspectives and stuff. And I just wanted someone or a group of people, whom I could converse with, not just business related, but topics that I enjoyed.
Right.
So that led me to, start hunting for communities where I could join, technical or other communities where I could join. And then I tried a couple of meetups and all that stuff, couple of online communities and all that. And somewhere, over time, I kind of found you guys, and I found that comfortable space where I could develop.
So I want to deep dive more into this, Rushabh, right? But I think if I'm just thinking through a natural person, I've also gone through phases in my life, right? So usually when you're kind of feeling a little low, or you're feeling like you're lacking something and you want to overcome that, there's an instinct to look at people around you. So I understand at your work, you had people who were not of your age group, or probably you being a head of the business, you can also not talk to everybody comfortably about your inside struggles, right? But what was your social circle like at that point of time? The friends that you had made, did you try talking to them? Were they around you? Were they with you at that time?
Yeah, I did have friends whom I could converse with.
Right.
But see, the thing is, they do not come from the similar background that I come from, of a family business.
Right.
And certain things, while they are trying to be supportive, it's a higher friction part to discuss with them. I'm not blaming any of them, but it's just explaining that whole perspective becomes difficult.
Right.
And I was just trying to find more like-minded people.
Right. I think that makes sense that you started looking for product or technical or founder communities where you can find that wise. Talk me through how was it, right? Meeting strangers, talking to people from business. How was your initial experience through it? Did it really help you through that phase?
Yeah, it kind of put me down the path. Put in some confidence. I did find some people from some communities whom I had a couple of conversations with.
Right.
Though because of again confidence issues and everything, for me to continue that over time became difficult.
Right.
But I still am connected with a few, and there's an occasional conversation that happens.
Right.
But those are more technical kind of things, right? Like what's happening, what are new ideas,
Right.
How can we, what's something new that I can implement, what's something new I can explore business wise, right? So it's more of those.
That makes sense, right? And I think when you're looking to do something and when you're putting in effort, then things also work out. And I'm glad you stumbled upon Oopar, right? And I have seen your journey. I know you have a bunch of friends who are very close to you. You guys are celebrating all moments, festivals together. So, what do you think kind of changed as compared to professional communities versus a space like this where you did not even have anything in common with them, right? They were not even from a business perspective. So what did you think made you feel more comfortable around these people?
If I were to list down things, it would be the people here were non-judgmental,
Right.
to be honest. Like I have found a lot of people when I say I come from a family business, they make pre-assumptions
Right.
about me, right? And I then find it very difficult to break those perspectives. Here, people didn't assume things about me when I joined, and they were willing to hear. They were willing to support me through my struggles, initial struggles, and people kept pushing me to that. Kept pushing me through the journey. So that's probably, I think, over time.
Right.
For me, even the first couple of months, even I wasn't sure whether I will continue or not. But then a couple of events late last year, that kind of pushed me over, pushed my confidence over the brim that led me to, stick around. And I understood that, if I stick around here, I'll grow personally as well as professionally whenever it happens.
Right. I've seen this journey for a lot of people, Rushabh, right? And when you are going through something like that does not have a quick fix. So whether it's confidence or you talked about that phase of loneliness, right? It's not something that goes away in a day. It takes time for you to get through that. And a lot of people give up when they're not seeing quick results, right? So I want to understand that more. What kind of kept you going through all these communities, all these people? What was that inner drive that made you sure that I do not stop, but I keep looking out for it and eventually I'll be able to overcome it?
So last year, when I joined you, there was a parallel thing that happened in our Samaj. Also, some similar youth formation happened.
Can you talk a little bit for people watching? What do you mean by Samaj and what is that community?
So, I belong to a Gujarati Samaj called Ghogari Samaj, and this is basically a group of people who have come from a specific region in Gujarat. Through generations, they have come and settled in Bangalore, and it's just a way for them to connect on a similar platform, right? So, our parents, our grandparents have formed this over the years, and they continue to connect and support each other through this. So we recently, the elders found that youth is very disconnected, and they wanted to bring in that strong sense of connect and Samaj into the youth. So they floated youth forum and all that stuff, and some of us took on the opportunity to associate over there and take part in it.
Got it. So you were telling me that this also came into your life around a year back, and that also helped you go through it.
There also as a member, and then I jumped into the back end of it, and that along with this parallelly happening, me plus my professional life, I got busy and I never had that free time to think about the negative things. I was getting pushed from both the places, positive pushes from both the places. Energy was coming in great, and that kind of, even though during this journey of last 1 year, I have had probably few instances where I wanted to not continue with this, but then the fight between that thought and the other thoughts, positive thoughts, the positive thoughts obviously won, and I continued with things.
I'm glad that happened, right? And here we are. But I think, as somebody who's always thinking about communities as well, I want to understand better. You have been part of many communities, right? And you have your community which is more about your roots, going back to where you come from and that people. Versus something like Oopar, which is a little bit more heterogeneous, right? You have different people. They're more united towards that idea of building a better life, building a better social life, right? So there can be different themes to a community. How would you tell? Because I see a lot of influencers talking about their 10,000 followers on Instagram being a community. So community itself is an over abused word. But if you had to explain to somebody, how would you explain what a community means, right? And what does it mean to be a part of a community?
As you rightly said, community can mean a lot of things. You have professional guys, who just talk about that particular domain.
Right.
Community for influencers is probably, centered around them and the topic they discuss around, right? Even for celebrities, their community center around them.
Right.
But yeah, you could have a community that's centered around a specific goal, right? Like personal growth or just enjoying, just having conversations and all that. So it might be overused, but it can mean a lot of things, and people need to understand that.
Got it. So as somebody, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are watching also, right? Who is still at that phase of life where you were a year back, right? Feeling a little underconfident, not sure where to go, who to meet, how to come out of this. What would be your suggestion to them, or what would you tell them today?
I would just say, एक बार हाँ बोल के देखो.
वाह, क्या बात है.
Then see where it goes from there.
But that's something I'm printing on a t-shirt, right? And gifting it to you. एक बार हाँ बोल के तो देखो, right? But I think Rushabh, one more thing that we've always observed, and something that is very central to the idea of a community, is to pay it forward, right? I always very strongly believe community is not at all about a celebrity or somebody who owns the community. A community is as good as its people. And if a community has a vision, its people has to take it forward, otherwise that kind of falls apart. And we have seen always in you that you have that idea of paying it forward, helping others, the journey that you have gone through, being able to help others. And I want to understand what brings that out of you, right? Is it just out of service, or the fact that you have gone through a set of struggles that you do not want others to go through? Where does that idea of paying it forward originates from?
I would say it originates, as you rightly said, right? I have had some struggles in my life, and I would have wished that, someone did something for me at that point of time. Wouldn't be a specific thing, just, coming and sitting with me in silence, coming and just having a small chat with me. And I understand that a lot of people go through that struggle, even though it's not visible on their face sometimes. Right? So I just do it because, why not? What have I to lose in it? If I can brighten someone's day, if I can bring a small spike of happiness in their day, why not?
But usually, we can think from a very idealistic perspective, but usually when you're doing something for somebody, some way or the other, even if not in equal proportions, but you expect them to reciprocate, right? There's not always selflessness with the idea of paying it forward. Do you also expect for people to reciprocate that, and if it happens, doesn't happen, does it affect you?
Frankly speaking, I don't do it out of expectations. And talking about reciprocation, I don't think it's that straightforward as to how they will reciprocate. Them just accepting me is also reciprocation, right? At that point, them accepting my gestures is also reciprocation. People, I think, have a very wrong idea, about what reciprocation means. And I think people need to change that. I think if we all start doing these small gestures, I think the world would be a little better place.
I completely agree with that, right? But I think that also brings me to the next question, Rushabh. And this is something that we talk a lot about at Oopar. We have also discussed and how this journey of growing is continuous, right? There's no end point to it. That's something that you can do ahead. So in the next 1 year, 2 years of your life, apart from your business, apart from your profession, what are some areas of life that you are looking to grow upon that you believe, okay, these are the next things that I need to hit?
If I were to be a bit greedy, I would say that, I want to personally grow and think about myself.
Okay.
A lot of people have pointed this out to me, and we were also talking about that, I pay it forward. And sometimes I think that, I go beyond what I need to do.
Yeah.
If someone were to say, that I need this done, that would become a higher priority than what I need to do for myself. That's, extreme, and I want to personally, change my perspectives around those things, around self-love and those areas.
Right.
And that's, I think, so where something, I'm getting newer perspectives while having conversations. But that's my main focus, other than the business part of it.
So, Rushabh, one thing that we have been thinking about a lot at Oopar is in today's day and age, what does it mean to be a friend, right? I think as a generation that has grown up on smartphones, Facebook, Instagram, somewhere down the line, we diluted the meaning of the word friend, right? Friend became a friend request. So, going through all of this journey that you have been, what does it mean for you to be a good friend in today's age and time?
To be honest, my definition of a friend is very vague, because for me, friends mean a lot of things.
Right.
Some are there to have just conversations. Some are just to, have fun around, right? Just kid around with,
Right.
do crazy stuff. And some are just to, hang out with and all those kind of things. So
Right.
for me, friendship means a lot of things. It's not just one thing that I can define.
I think that reminds me of the campaign "हर एक friend जरूरी होता है," right? But lovely, Rushabh. It has been always great to listen to you, and I think the best part of my job is I get to be a part of your journeys and observe it not from very far away. So just talking to you, seeing you through the last 1 year, I genuinely have learned a lot, and I can tell you, you are inspiring a lot of people. So keep spreading this love, and I'm looking forward to a lot more conversation, events, and things together.
Likewise.
Perfect. So we'll move on to the next segment then. So guys, in this segment we have with us our Oopar cards. These are from 4 different categories. So you have life, pop culture, travel, and a mixed bag of questions. Behind every card is written a question, right? And what we'll be doing is each of us can choose a category of our choice. We'll pick up the question, and whatever is the question, both of us have to answer that. So are you ready, Rushab?
Let's go, man.
Done. Pick up the first card.
What do you do to lift up your mood on a bad day?
I think my idea of lifting up my mood is I either write if it's like a really, really bad day. Otherwise, I will just call up an old friend who I haven't talked in a while, because I don't care about what's happening, and then that just helps me to lift up my mood. What about you?
I think for me it would be, again, to my vibe, food. I would order something that I'm craving.
That I just do
will solve
every day, even when my mood is good. So that's why it didn't come to my mind. But lovely, I'll pick up the next question. If you could step into a fictional world, which one would you choose?
I think it would be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think the answer is, the why is, I think, so answered.
You love desserts, yeah? We all know that, right? For me, it would be Suits, right?
Interesting.
Harvey Specter is my favorite character of all time. And there's that line, right? That life is this and I want this. So I think probably that would be my chance to be in that universe. Yeah?
Moving on to the next one. What would be the first thing that you would buy if you won a lottery?
A world tour ticket, right? Just 1 month, 2 months of time and just travel across the country or across the world, in fact, without having to worry about what to buy, what not to buy, and just being able to live in the moment. What about you?
Uh, I think it would be, I think so. I want to open a cafe. That's my dream, and I think I would invest it towards that.
Yeah, now that I listened to your question, I think I feel like I should have answered that as well. But I would probably visit the world first and then go ahead and open my restaurant, right? So I'll pick up one more. What's that one food that you cannot live without?
It might sound basic, but I think it would be idli and vada.
I think that's there for a lot of people, right? For me, it's definitely biryani, right? I just cannot live without biryani, so that's one food I cannot live without. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and has something to take away from it. Tell us in the comments below, what did you enjoy? How can we improve this podcast and the future episodes? We would love to hear from you. And stay tuned, follow Oopar Club for more amazing people and more amazing conversations.